Today's video is once again in a talk format. While you're watching me build a model in the background, I'll be sharing things in scale modeling that can really frustrate, irritate, or just flat out drive you crazy. Of course, this is my personal opinion and you may disagree, that's totally fine. Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to hear your take on it. Also, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. It really helps the channel grow. First up, when a tiny part flies out of the tweezers. I'm pretty sure every modeler's been there. Best case, you find it quickly. Worst case, you're crawling on all fours with a flashlight, and the build turns into a search mission. And if the part never shows up, that's the real pain. If it's a machine gun or similar, you can usually scratch build one. That's what I did on this BMD. The gun vanished, so I made a new one from leftover sprue. But if it's something like a mirror on a truck, I once lost one on an ICM kit and had to pretend it was knocked off in action. Next thing that gets on my nerves, thick sprue gates on fragile parts. It's especially annoying when the part is super thin and detailed, but it's attached to the sprue with these huge gates. You try to be careful, but it still breaks. Had this issue with mini art, on a tram pantograph, for example. Even with maximum care, the part cracked right off. Nothing to do but curse silently and fix it. Third point, when the manufacturer expects you to make something yourself, like drilling holes or adding your own wire. It's fine in theory, but if you don't have the tools handy, it kills the workflow. I once had to drill 6 holes for mirrors. I had the drill bit, but forgot the screwdriver at work. The whole priming process had to wait another day. Or with that tram model, they ask you to string wire between poles, but don't include any wire in the kit. Would it be that hard to throw in 30 centimeters of wire? Probably not, but it would help a lot. Next, we have the classic missed paint stains. You think you covered everything, double-checked it all, and then, boom, dried paint reveals an unpainted patch. Brush painting? Easy fix. With an airbrush? Not so much. My advice, spray in thin coats. Let each layer dry fully. Check for missed spots. Then do a second pass where needed. That way, you minimize frustration and avoid uneven patches. Next thing that seriously gets under my skin, the dismissive attitude toward different modeling genres. Some armor modelers will casually throw shade at aircraft builders. Oh, come on, it's like 10 parts and you're done. Try building a mini art T-55 with full interior, then we'll talk modeling. And it goes the other way too. Tanks? Slap them together, cover in mud and rust, done. Honestly, that kind of a gatekeeping is just frustrating. Sure, if it's a friendly joke, fine. But too often, it turns into real arguments and forum fights. Some people act like their genre is the only true form of modeling. And worse, they feel obligated to leave their expert opinion on every build outside their lane. Next, rude criticism. Constructive feedback? Totally fine. Even helpful. But some people seem to live for tearing down others' work in the harshest, most arrogant way possible. I've never once felt the urge to go on someone's post and pick apart every flaw, especially when it's a beginner. They deserve encouragement for finishing a build, not to be slammed with negativity. But sure enough, there's always someone who shows up with a holier-than-thou tone, pointing out everything wrong with zero tact. Feels like it's more about ego than helping. Now, the one that probably frustrates me most, politics in modeling. For me, modeling is an escape, a calm, personal space away from the noise of the world. But lately, some people treat every model as a platform for their political beliefs, aggressive descriptions, loaded symbolism. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, of course. But why use scale modeling as a soapbox for propaganda? There are other places for that. Here I want to see builds, not ideological battles. And unfortunately, it feels like this trend is only growing. Another thing, The way people treat this hobby, like it's some silly toy collection. Some hear scale models and imagine it's just playing with plastic tanks and toy soldiers. And when they find out a kit costs $50, wait, you paid that much for a plastic toy that doesn't even move? I gave up trying to explain. It's pointless. And don't get me started on guests, especially kids, who grab a finished model off the shelf and start playing with it. That's enough to cause a full-blown crisis. Next is something I can't change, but which still bothers me: the narrow focus of modeling companies. It's the same old rotation: Shermans, Panthers, Tigers, over and over, new versions, new tweaks. Meanwhile, entire categories go untouched. Why? No idea. I actually made a whole video on this topic. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. I go into more detail about the overlooked areas of scale modeling. One more point, continuing the same topic, is the idea of fake new releases. You know the drill: an old kit gets repackaged, a few new parts thrown in, fresh decals, a shiny box, and suddenly it's marketed as a brand new release. You bring it home, open the box, and surprise, it's a time capsule from the 90s. And the price? Full retail, like it's a modern tooling. I wouldn't mind if the price matched the age, but nope. You pay as if it's fresh off the CAD. Honestly, I wish manufacturers would just indicate the original release year on the box. But yeah, that's not happening. Next up, confusing instructions. This one hit me during my current build. Sometimes it's just infuriating. One assembly step was so dark and cluttered, I had to shine a light at different angles just to understand what's going on. And to top it off, two wheel brackets were mislabeled. In the instructions, they're marked one way, on the sprue, completely reversed. Luckily, I caught it in time, but still had to rip off the parts and reattach them properly. Frustrating? You bet. Then there's excessive micro-detailing, and not the good kind. Mini-art is notorious for this. They break down the simplest elements into 10 separate pieces. It sounds like high detail on paper, but in practice, it's just unnecessary complexity with little added value. I've got a mini-art truck in my stash, already mentally preparing for battle. It's going to take serious time and patience. Another small but annoying thing: missing clear parts. Take my BMD kit, for example. No clear vision blocks, just solid plastic covers. Would a couple clear pieces really have hurt the budget? Probably not. And judging by online discussions, I'm not the only one who's dealt with this. Seems to be a recurring issue across brands. And finally, the most painful truth: lack of time. That's the real enemy. You want to build, to paint, to enjoy the process, but real life keeps getting in the way. If I manage to squeeze in a few hours a week, I call that a win. That's why a single kit can take me 3 to 4 months. I build in tiny sessions, bit by bit. If you've made it this far, thank you. I truly appreciate it. In the next video, I'll flip the mood and talk about the things that bring me joy and motivation in this amazing hobby. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.